what do you envision in terms of the multi-generational work?
The most important thing is just starting with, like, what does being in a multi-generational frame of reference or frame of mind do to our thinking and kind of what we see in the world and the universe? The first piece of that is that no matter like how we change or alter the way we see things, it changes what becomes possible for us. Mm-hmm. So, like most of us, we grow up and we develop a pretty clear idea of self. I know what I am. Yeah. I know where I am. Yeah. And I have a really pretty refined sense of now. Yeah. I know that I am here and I know that I am here now. And naturally out of that flows an enormous amount of our behavior. I am here now and my stomach is grumbling. I'm hungry. Therefore, I'm going to take action to feed myself. And so whatever we're present to in the present moment becomes our next action, and the next action after that, next action after that. And really, as we grow older, that just becomes more sophisticated. I'm not just feeding myself. I'm accomplishing some task for business or some task for pleasure or leisure or maybe fitness. The complexity of what I do changes depending on what's important to me. But most of it's operated on out of the sense of me now. And there's nothing wrong with that. Obviously, that's a super effective way to be a human being. But if we want to make lasting changes or tackle problems that need longer time frames than me and now, then we have to think differently. So traditionally, we'll think in yearly or maybe for some of us 3 years, and others maybe at a stretch 5-year stretches to see if I can think in a bigger period of time. When you get to a transgenerational set of times, when you start thinking 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 generations in the future, or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 generations in the past, then the concept of who you are changes. Yeah. You're no longer in a place and a time. You are a way of conceiving or holding something larger.
Let me interrupt my question because I like some things are clicking. I just want to, because one of the things you talked about, like if you're looking at a 3 to 5 year time frame, right? The thing I began to think is even like in a day-to-day basis, even if you have like a 3 to 5 year plan or even an annual plan for something, like a plan for the year, it's not always operational. It's only operational when it's kind of there for me.
Right.
Right. But when it's there for me, I then like, if I do it like a 3 to 5 year plan, that has me consider things I wouldn't consider with a 1 year plan. And that has me do some different things when I'm aware of that. And that also for me extends to when you're talking about, 20 generations into the future, it has me consider things differently but the thing that I don't know what word to use. The thing that gets me to actually take the different actions is the living in the awareness of that multi-generational future. And that's, I hear, as one of the challenges is how do we keep that present for ourselves? Because it's so easy to get sucked into like, right now.
Yeah. Well, now is always where it's always happening, right?
Right. Yeah.
So it's not like we're actually out there in the future. We're just we're a capacity to hold more time, just like we can hold more space, or maybe even like here's a really great example. For those of us who have kids, before you have kids, you've never had kids, and once you have a child, you suddenly and I promise instantaneously have a different capacity for considering the impact of your actions on somebody else.
Yeah.
You don't have to go to training. Your child doesn't get bored and then you get trained on how to consider them. You just suddenly, because now they're one of the most important things in your life, you now consider them. And for most of us, the consideration, the change of behavior, the things that we do for our children over the course of, at a minimum, 20 years, if you were to literally print that on a document and hand it to prospective parents, most people would go, holy blank, blank, blank. Are you actually kidding me? Can you count up the seconds and minutes and hours and years of my life that this is going to be my number one priority and project? And yet, even if I were to tell some young couple in love and imagining having a family together, look, this is by far the most biggest investment you'll make in time in your huge whole life, they would be like, yeah, of course, naturally. My parents did it for me.
Yeah.
Wait a second, my parents did it for me and their parents did it for them. And wait, human hominids have been around about 100,000 years. Since the time of Plato, we've got about 100 generations. Well, this is something obviously that comes natural to human beings, to be able to expand the locus of our care and concern to include another human being, a couple of 3, 4 human beings pretty easily. And then you can see people that are extraordinary in history who are able to, encompass a lot larger amount of people. Even like Martin Luther King, he stood up for equal rights, but he also stood up for all people.
Yeah.
He didn't say equal rights for my people and no rights for you people. He actually was able to hold a really large people, and we look at that heroically. And the same can be said for time. The more time that we can hold, it changes the same way. Where if it's and I think it's a natural capacity, but I don't think our society and culture. I think our busyness represses our natural capacity to think in long-term time frames.
Well, and the way you said that, I don't know that I've heard it before, that, the capacity to hold more time. That's a radical notion, I think, for most of us.
Yeah, because we have it that we don't have enough. First of all, we have scarcity of time. It's kind of the world we live in.
Yeah.
And I know you have a lot to say about that and how we organize our life around what's important to us.
Yeah.
But if you conceive of your time as being beyond your lifetime, it's a conceptual exercise.
Yeah.
I'm not saying you actually have more time than you have life on the planet.
Yeah.
But you can hold more time.
Yeah.
And in the transgenerational contemplation I do, I have people hold 5,000 years of time in their hands.
Yeah.
And you have a visceral experience of holding 5,000 years of time.
Yeah.
Does it mean you live for 5,000 years? No, that's nonsense. But when we hold larger pieces of time, we begin to see the sweep of time and what has been capable for human beings through time. If we hold that as a sweep of time, not as something we're responsible for, that we have to do something, but that actually we can respond to that sweep of time, both being appreciative and acknowledging those who've come before and given us the opportunity, the gifts to have the time we have now, and the gifts that we'll leave moving forward, the kind of the wave of direction that we are in the world passing forward into time.
Yeah.
I find it both humbling in a way, and liberating in another way. I feel completely like, wow, I can tackle things that I can't do in my lifetime. Not only can I not do them by myself, I can't even do them in my lifetime. And yet I know that my efforts can be directed to have those impacts beyond my time on the planet. And maybe, quite possibly, and I really strongly feel this, that the work I am doing today, the work that we're doing, the work of Boldly Now and the Generative Futures Initiative, is predicated upon the work of those who came before. We're just carrying that certain wave forward in time.
Yeah.
And it's not a personal thing. It's not my theory of time.
Yeah.
I mean, Aristotle, I talk about Aristotle in my book. I talk about St. Augustine. I talk about Carlo Rovelli, who's a cosmologist contemporarily today. And there will be names like that after me.
Yeah.
And so as an individual, if I try to say, hey, I'm responsible for all of this, it becomes overwhelming all the time.
Yeah.
But as part of a lineage of people and thinkers who are working on something over time, and maybe even on a cosmological scale, the difference between me and Aristotle is just under 2,500 years. You compare that to 13.8 billion years. We're actually just time neighbors. We're like next door neighbors. He, like in a blip, we've been sitting together, and the conversations pass from him to me, and I will pass on, another 2,500 or 5,000 years to others.
That's really great. So a few things I'm thinking. So one of the things that I could hear as part of what could happen with Boldly Now, one is people expanding their capacity to hold more time.
Yeah.
And the question about,
and invent projects that,
yeah,
that take more than their lifetime or take multiple lifetimes to achieve.
yeah. And now, the question I'm about to ask, you've already answered at least in part, if not completely, but let me ask it anyhow, is if you look at Boldly Now engaging people in a way that expands their capacity to hold more time, what's the impact for those people?
It's really clear for me.
Yeah.
All the things that tell you why you can't do what you want to do and why you can't solve the problem you want to solve are gone. They're completely gone. Given the right time frame, there is nothing we can't solve or do. So we can now stop being stopped by the fact that we can't get it done ourselves or can't get it done in our period of time.
Yeah.
And I would say that is the most important aspect of transgenerational or this long arc of time, the capacity to hold a long arc of time and operate within a long arc of time. As we suddenly, it's just so much easier. It's so much easier.
Yeah. Here's the thing that I hear in it, which is, it is another way that may say it, and I want to check with you, is the ability for people to hold and act on a desire they have without being, how would I say it? Like, disempowered isn't the word I want to use, but like without being hamstrung, without being caught up in the difficulties of the moment.
Yes.
So actually having a freedom now to act on whatever desire they have, without getting kind of hamstrung by anything that happens now.
Yeah, just imagine that.
Yeah.
I mean, talk about, like, it's like empowerment without anybody empowering you.
Yeah.
It's time that's giving you that capacity.
Yeah.
In Carlo Rovelli's book, blanking on the name of it right now, I'll make sure it gets into the notes here. He talks about there are no objects, there are only events. A stone, a stone experience from our perspective is permanent. That thing is there. It's been there for a long time. Yeah. But in terms of time, it's actually something that's getting formed and then something slowly dissolved. It's an event that may take, 500,000 years to happen. And that's just, like we talk about how things feel fixed.
Yeah.
We experience things as fixed. But if you take the right time frames, then everything's just an event. Some events are really quick, the sunset, and some events like the rising and falling of mountains are a very slow event that we actually don't live at a speed that we can witness that. Yeah. But we can conceive of it. We can actually conceive of a stone as an event. Yeah. And then the universe starts to make a lot more sense. To me, at least, it makes much more sense as a series of events than a series of fixed states. The minute I get into relying on the world as being a series of fixed states, the rug gets pulled out from me, under me, all the time. In Buddhism, we talk about impermanence, but it's almost impermanence is the negative word to constantly in flow. Like, it's not that life is impermanent. Actually, all of existence constantly in flow. Yeah. And in any given moment, the state is different. Yeah. And if you can really get in tune with that, then really there's a lot less to worry about. It's when we consider things fixed and permanent that they get worrisome.
And when I sit inside of that, and I sit inside of like the multi-generational aspect of things, then the question about, okay, well, what is the gift I want to give becomes much more important. Yeah. Otherwise, what the heck am I doing? Wow. Cool. All right, great. Wow.
Well, thank you for the question, Doug. And hope our viewers enjoyed that. The comment section below, please add your comments or thoughts. If you have a question or like insight, we'd love to hear it. So we can continue to push forward our understanding of time, understanding of being in time, and how to generate futures and how to be boldly now.